I'm going to tell you my adaptation of a Russian folktale called Vasilisa and Baba Yaga. This story is suitable for older children and teenagers. Once there was a young girl named Vasilisa whose mother had died, but before she died she gave her a magical doll. The doll was magical because Vasilisa's mother made it for her, and as she made it, with each stitch she cast a spell of love and protection and comfort, because she knew she would not be around in later years to provide these things for her daughter. Vasilisa would need the doll, whom she named Poppy, because her father married a woman soon after her mother died, and the woman was very, very cruel to Vasilisa, and her daughter followed her mother's example. The father had to move to a great big city to find work to support his family, so he moved the family to a small cottage at the edge of a large forest, a large ancient forest. The stepmother and stepsister were terrified of the forest. The stepmother would tell stories about an old witch named Baba Yaga who lived in the middle of the forest, and she would scare herself and her daughter. Baba Yaga has one eye, and when she looks at you with it, you drop dead on the spot. Then she eats little girls with her iron teeth and drinks their blood and builds her fence out of their bones. She's got a house up on chicken legs, and, well, the stories were pretty outrageous. Vasilisa was glad that the stepmother and stepsister were afraid to go in the woods, because then she and Poppy could go in there, and she could tell Poppy all her troubles, and she really felt like Poppy would listen and talk to her and make her feel better. One day, the stepmother told her, "Vasilisa, we're out of firewood. You have to go into the forest to get more." So Vasilisa took Poppy and she put her in her pocket. She went into the forest. She went deeper and deeper into the forest. She came upon a clearing in which stood an apple tree. Now, the apple tree was full of ripe apples, and all around the trunk of the tree were empty baskets, waiting for the apples. But there was no one there to pick them. So Vasilisa asked the tree, "Tree, where are the workers to pick your apples and fill these baskets?" The tree said, "Oh, there are no workers. Old Baba Yaga is too old to climb my branches and pick my apples anymore." Well, Vasilisa knew just what to do. She climbed the tree and she picked all the apples and she filled all the baskets. But then a strange thing happened. Once all the baskets were filled, they disappeared. Well, the tree thanked Vasilisa for her help, and Vasilisa moved on. And she went deeper and deeper into the forest until she came upon another clearing. And in this clearing was a cow. And this poor cow looked like it hadn't been milked for days. Its udder was all red and swollen and just full of milk. There were empty pails waiting for the milk all around the cow. Vasilisa asked the cow, "Where are the workers to milk you, poor cow?" And the cow said, "There are no workers. Old Baba Yaga's hands can't grip my udders to milk me anymore." So Vasilisa knelt down and she started milking the cow, and she filled all the pails, and when the last pail was filled, they all disappeared, just like the baskets of apples. Well, the cow thanked Vasilisa, and Vasilisa continued on until she came to a strange-looking cottage on chicken legs. Well, now Vasilisa began to wonder, the story's true? The fence sure looked white like bones, but when she touched it, it was just plain old wood, bleached white by time. So she knocked on the gate. Knock, knock, knock. "Hello? Is anyone here?" Out of the cottage came a little old woman, bent over, leaning heavily on her cane with one eye. She looked at Vasilisa with that one eye. Vasilisa didn't drop dead like her stepmother said. "Who are you, girl?" "I'm Vasilisa. I was just looking for firewood in the forest, and you tell me why I shouldn't eat you right here and now." Vasilisa looked at the old woman. "Well, I suppose you could eat me, but I would only fill your belly for a very short time." The old woman looked at Vasilisa. "Tell you what, you do some things around here, and I'll let you live." Vasilisa thought about the tree, and she thought about the cow, and she thought, this poor old woman needs help. I better stick around. So she did. She agreed. Baba Yaga said, "Very well, your first task, you clean my house and you have my dinner on the table by the time I come back at sunset, or I'll eat you." So Vasilisa went inside the house and she looked around. and she saw dishes, dirty dishes, piled on one wall from the floor to the ceiling. And on another wall, there were dusty old books piled from the floor to the ceiling. Every corner of the ceiling was filled with cobwebs, and every corner of the floor was filled with dust and dirt. Vasilisa began to feel like she was in over her head, so she took out her old friend Poppy, and she said, "Poppy, what should I do? I have to clean Baba Yaga's house and get her dinner ready before sunset. Look at this place." And Poppy spoke. And she told Vasilisa, "Don't worry about a thing. I'll help you. You just sit down and read those books. I'll clean the whole house, and I'll take care of dinner too." "How can you do that, Poppy? You're just a little doll." "Trust me. This is why your mother made me for you, to help you in your time of need." So that's what Vasilisa did. She sat down and read the books while Poppy cleaned the house and made the dinner. And she became so caught up in the magic of the stories in the books and the people and the adventures that they had, that before she knew it, Poppy jumped into her pocket and Baba Yaga was walking in the door. She looked around, the cottage was clean, there was a pot of stew on the hearth, and she dipped the stew into a bowl and set it on the table for Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga walked in and looked around the house and smiled. And she told Vasilisa, "Very well, I will not eat you tonight. You can sleep on the hearth. You better get some rest, though, because I've got a tougher task for you in the morning." Baba Yaga woke Vasilisa very early, and she told her, "Go out into my fields and gather the barley. Only the ripe barley. That's not done with my dinner on the table by sunset. When I come back, your dinner." Vasilisa went outside and she looked around at the field, and she saw, as far as the eye could see, barley, wheat, rye, all mixed up together, and not all of it ripe. So she brought Poppy out, and she said, "Poppy, what shall I do?" Poppy looked around and she said, "Go in the house. I'll take care of this. You read those books." So that's what she did. She went in and she read the books, and when she was finished, she looked around, and all the ripe barley had been bundled, and the dinner was on the table, and Baba Yaga walked in. Said, "Very well, girl, I'll let you live. And you've earned the right to ask me 2 questions. Make them good." So Vasilisa looked at the old woman and she said, "Baba Yaga, when I was coming here, I saw a tree full of apples, and when I picked all the apples, they disappeared. What happened to the apples?" "Ah, those are the apples of generosity, and by you picking them and taking pity on that tree, there are poor people in this world that will not go hungry." "I see. Baba Yaga, there was a cow that I milked, and all of the milk in the pails disappeared. What happened to it?" "Ah, yes. That is the milk of human kindness. And because you took pity on that cow and milked her, people are being kind to others throughout the world." "Very well. Now I have a question for you. Do you really want to go home?" Vasilisa thought, no, she really didn't want to go home. "Well, I have to take the wood to the stepmother and the stepsister, or they'll freeze this winter." "They won't freeze. All they have to do is overcome their fear of my forest and gather their own wood. And if they're cold enough, they'll do it. I could use a hand around here, and I could teach you, and you could do important work like you did today. What do you think?" Vasilisa thought and thought and thought. And Baba Yaga looked at her and says, "Ask that doll of yours. She'll help you find the answer." "You knew about Poppy? Girl, you reeked of magic as soon as you stepped up to my gate. Of course I knew about the doll." So Vasilisa pulled Poppy from her pocket and said, "Poppy, what shall I do?" Poppy looked at her and she said, "Your mother would want you to stay and learn and do important work. I'll go. Somewhere in the world there's a little girl who needs me just like you did. And when the time comes, I'll bring her here, and she'll be your apprentice." And that's just what they did. And one day, many years down the road, Poppy did come back with the little girl when Vasilisa was the Baba Yaga. And there was a new apprentice. Thank you for listening.